In this video, you learn how to play the Mixolydian mode on guitar. Now modes, as I'm sure you know if you've had any experience with them, can be really challenging to understand and seem really sort of confusing. But they really don't need to be if you learn them the correct way, of course. So in this video, we're going to break down the Mixolydian mode in great detail, have a look at what it is, where it comes from, and most importantly, how you can visualize it, and there's several ways, on the fretboard so that you can begin creating music with it straight away. Hi, this is Simon Candy from AcousticGuitarLessonsOnline.net, and in this lesson we are going to put the spotlight on the Mixolydian mode and see what it's all about. I'll show you where it comes from, how you can think about it, there's several ways, and how you can visualize it on the fretboard so that you can access it and actually create music with it. And there's one particular way that if you know the pentatonic scale, you'll be able to access the Mixolydian mode immediately, even if you just know good old pattern 1. Okay, so we're going to be having a look at that in today's video. If you're new to modes, then you can click the link in the top right corner of your video, and that'll take you to a modal video I did, just a brief overview, not reasonable detail actually, but an overview of all the modes of the major scale. So it's not absolutely necessary to watch that video first, but it would be good to watch to get a bit of foundation so that you'll bring more of an understanding to what we're going to have a look at in today's video. So let's get to it. Okay, so a little background first on the Mixolydian mode. So it is the 5th mode of the major key. So we're going to be dealing with the parent key, if you like, of C major here. And so therefore, the 5th mode of C major, if we count up 5, C, D, E, F, G, is G Mixolydian. Okay, so what does that mean? It means that G Mixolydian has the same notes as C major. Okay, only you begin on the G when you spell out a G Mixolydian scale, and when you spell out a C major scale, you start on the C. But apart from that, they've got the same notes. But the big difference is that the notes don't function the same. Okay, they don't sound the same, and that's the big important piece there that we've got to understand. First off, we can think of it as a C major scale. I'm hesitant when I say that because it's not C major. Even though it's got the same notes, it's not C major. It's G Mixolydian, but it does have the same notes. So you can think of it as, it is a mode of C major and it's got the same notes as C major. So, if I start, let's say, just on a single string here to explain the mode a little bit, it's often a good way to do it because you can sort of see how things relate on a single string, and it's very simple to play, which is good. So if I play an open G, then an A, then a B, then a C, then a D, an E, F, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G. That is G Mixolydian. If I started on a C note here and played the same notes but started on C, you're hearing C major, totally different sound. Another way you can think of it, and it helps sort of describe it a little bit or explain what's going on with the sound, is that it's a major scale with a flat 7. So what do we mean by that? G Mixolydian is the 5th mode of C major, so it's got the same notes as C major, but it's G Mixolydian, which gives us G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, which is what we just played. Now if we relate that, G Mixolydian is a major mode. Okay, so if we relate it to its parallel major key, which is G major, a parallel key is just a key that shares the same root note. So G Mixolydian and G major are are parallel keys. So if we compare them, what you can see there is the point of difference is the F sharp of G major has become an F note of G Mixolydian. Therefore, it's a flat 7. We can think of it as a major scale with a flat 7, and that describes the sound. What you're hearing is not a major scale at all. You're hearing the G major scale with a flat 7, which is actually Mixolydian. And you can kind of hear it, right? I hope you can. Here. That's a real characteristic note of the mode there. Because if you were playing G major, you'd hear this. The raised 7, the normal 7, which has a real pull towards the root. But we're not doing that when we play Mixolydian. It's the flat 7. Okay, that's what it works out to be when you spell it out coming from the parent key of C major. because it is, again, the fifth mode of C major, G Mixolydian. So that's the way you can think about it. The thing with modes is a lot of people, and I learned them like this, and I think this is a big problem if you go in it this way, is you learn notes. You think those modes are all about notes and scales and soloing and riffs and melodies, and yeah, they are, but there's the other side of music that's always there. Harmony. Even if there's no chords happening, there are always chords being implied. If you've got a melody, you've got chords at least being implied, if not someone else playing chords, right? That's the other half of music. So modes come from chords and chord progressions. That's the foundation. So if you don't have that foundation of chords, you're going to struggle in really understanding modes. I certainly did. I've got again, a video on modal chord progressions I'll link in the top right corner too. So that goes into more detail about modal chord progressions. But what I will say here, relating to Mixolydian, just briefly, if Mixolydian is a mode of C and it has the same notes as C major, then it also must have the same chords as C major, only it begins on the fifth chord, okay? So C major has C, has D minor, has E minor, has F, has G, A minor, B half diminished, and C. Well, G Mixolydian has those chords too, only it's starting on the G chord, because that's the one of Mixolydian. G, A minor, then the B diminished is 3, C is 4, D minor is 5, E minor is 6, F is 7, G is 1. Now you're probably hearing C major at the moment because I was just playing in C major, and your ear is more familiar with the major key, and it's easier to identify and sort of hone in, if you like, on the root, the tonic in a major key versus a modal key. Okay, it takes a little bit more training with the modes. And when we're just going back and forth between C and G here, it might confuse you a little bit, or your ear at least. So that's normal. That's okay. But understand that it has the same chords as C major. Okay, G Mixolydian. Only the one chord is G, not C. Therefore, every other chord is different too, right? A minor is the 2 chord, not the 6. E is the 3. B diminished is the 3 chord in Mixolydian, not the 7 chord as it is in C, and so on, okay? So the chords determine the mode, not what you're doing. So I'm going to just try and demonstrate this just a little bit more before we have a look here. So it's just a C chord. And if I play my C major scale, okay, C major, right? Not doing anything fancy, just a C major. Now, the mistake that a lot of people make is that they go, okay, now I'm going to play G Mixolydian. I'm going to start on my G, and now look, I'm playing G Mixolydian. But you're not. All you're doing is playing from the 5th note in C major over a C chord, up and down, right? You can't get G Mixolydian when there's a C chord just vamping out like it is right now, okay? You just can't get that sound. It's like trying to get blood from a rock. It's never going to happen, right? The chords will dictate the sound that you're getting here. Okay, so let's hear it over a G chord. If we have a G chord playing, vamping out on a G, now we play the scale, starting on the G or any note, it doesn't matter. The G is setting up the sound of Mixolydian. Right? Even if I played C, what I think might be C is not. Now the G has become the 1. And the B will sound more resolved because it's the 3rd of the chord. Right? It's all about the chords. So click the link for the modal chord progression video. I'll go into more detail with that concept there. But just know it's the chords. You can't imply another key on top of a key that's already happening, okay? So it's all about the chords when it comes to modes. Okay, so the first way, and the thing to note here is that there's lots of ways, more ways to access Mixolydian than what I'm going to show you here today. And the first one is simply accessing the parent key, okay? So as I was saying before, G Mixolydian is the 5th mode of C major. And as we've already established, G Mixolydian has the same notes as C major. That's why it's a mode of C major. So C major and G Mixolydian, not G major, C major and G Mixolydian have the same notes. So when we're in Mixolydian, and I'm going to play a vamp in a moment, Mixolydian, we just play a C major scale. Now we won't be actually playing C major, we're accessing G Mixolydian through the C major scale because they have the same notes, but they'll be sounding different because of the all-important chord progression that's playing behind us. This is just a little vamp, it's a G, down to the F7 chord in Mixolydian. Just a little vamp. Okay, very common one. And if we go, okay, we want to play Mixolydian here, I'll just play a C major scale. But of course, we're not hearing C major, we're hearing G Mixolydian. And okay, we're going to hear different tones resolving into the chords. If I play a C note, it doesn't sound resolve. It wants to resolve down to the B perhaps. Okay, whatever you want to do, but I'm just using just this 3-note per string C major scale. You can use any C major scale you like, okay? But it's a way, you don't have to know a G Mixolydian scale to play G Mixolydian. You just know it's a mode of C major, so you've already got the scale under your fingers. It's good to then learn, you know, sort of more, see it more as G Mixolydian. That's definitely, this wouldn't be the only way you want to access it, but it's a quick way to get into the sound of the mode. Okay, and sort of understand that it is a mode of an existing major key. Okay, another way you can access the Mixolydian mode, and any mode for that factor, is the pentatonic scale. This is one of my favorite ways to access the mode. It's really, really simple if you know the pentatonic scale. So in any modal key or major key, there are 3 minor chords. And if you play a pentatonic scale off either of those minor chords, you'll be playing notes from the key. Okay, so what I mean by that is in G Mixolydian we have a D minor chord. So if I play a D minor pentatonic scale, okay, which is the one I'm going to choose, you will see I've got D, F, G, A, C, then we repeat D, F, G, A, C, D, F. We've got 5 of the notes of Mixolydian already under our fingers just by playing that D minor pentatonic scale. So if we add the 2 missing notes, voila, there's G Mixolydian, right? I've got D and F, there's my E on the 12th fret of the bottom string. I'm using pattern 1 D minor here. So there's one of the added notes I'll add to the pentatonic. And then as we go up, we get to the B on string 4 at the 7th fret. Then back into the pentatonic. And then the octaves of those notes, we've got the, where are we here? We've got the E here, sorry, 9th fret, 3rd string, into the pentatonic. There's the B and the E. So we're adding the missing E and B notes to fill out the key. We're still kind of doing the same thing as what I was using before, but we're seeing it differently now. We go, oh, okay, the pentatonic is actually in the mode. It's nested, if you like, inside the Mixolydian mode. So is A minor, and so is E minor, okay, in the Mixolydian mode. So you could do the same thing with those pentatonic scales too, but let's just do D minor here. It's a really good one to use. And this is how it looks on the fretboard. And what's it mean? It means we can use all our pentatonic stuff and just add these notes in. You can play, well, let's put on our groove here, right? So remember, it's our 1 chord down to the 7. 2 bars on each chord. Okay, so if I just play the pentatonic, okay, of course that works. Now, am I playing G Mixolydian here? Yeah, I am, because the chord progression is G Mixolydian. And I'm using a D minor pentatonic scale that works on top. But I can add those additional notes to fill out the sound a little more. Right, so I can all the pentatonic stuff. And, you know, add in those additional tones, right? And add in, you know, whatever, right? But the idea is that you're using the pentatonic scale, D minor in this case, and add in, wherever you want, the missing tones that fill out the Mixolydian sound. If you don't add any of those additional tones, you're still playing Mixolydian. The key is Mixolydian, and you're using, through the D minor pentatonic scale, you're accessing 5 of those notes. That's enough to be in the key. Even if you just play one note, the chord progression is the key. You're then playing on top. So think from chord progression up. Don't think from notes down. It starts with the chord progression. It's like I was making a point earlier in this video. So using the pentatonic scale is a great way into any mode, in this case G Mixolydian. Okay, and another really cool way to access this sound, this is one of my favorites, is the triads, right? Playing arpeggios via the triads of the key. Any 2 triads. So for example, in the key of G Mixolydian, we have a D minor triad, and we have, I should just say we have an E minor and a D minor chord in the key of G Mixolydian. So if we play little triads, if we look at the notes in those chords, so triads meaning 3-note chord, and we look at the notes in those chords, in the D minor triad you have a D note, an F note, and an A note. In the E minor triad you have an E, G, and B. Put those notes together and you have 6 of the 7 notes of G Mixolydian, more than enough to play with over anything that's in the G Mixolydian mode. Now you might think, well, what's the point of this? It's just giving me the same notes that I got with the pentatonic scale, which gave me the same notes that I got with the first approach, the major scale. The point is, each approach you're viewing the fretboard differently. The first approach you were viewing it, or at least I was, in 3-note per string scale patterns. Okay. The second approach I was thinking more pentatonic with some added notes. So I visualize it differently. I have different riffs to play, different ways to sort of play between notes. When you think of the same notes but grouped in 2 separate triads, you have a different sound again, or a different way of viewing. And this one's quite different because the intervallic relationship between the notes is different. It's bigger because they're triads, or if you like, arpeggios. So the jumps are bigger. It's not step sort of motion, stepwise motion that you get in a scale. Okay, it's more of a jump. Okay, so I'll play here. I'm going to play this triad, which is a D minor triad. It's in first inversion, F, A, and D. And then if I move that up 2 frets, I get a first inversion E minor triad, G, B, and E. And I can play these anywhere. I mean, the 2 chords aren't even the chords in the backing track. That doesn't matter because it's all part of the same family, and you're going to access the notes of G Mixolydian and some extensions to the chords that are being played at the time. Let's just see how that sounds. So we get our progression going here again. That's our 1 chord. Let's get it in our ear a bit. The 7 chord, F. So if I just play the D minor, E minor, okay. Right, you can hear a bit of a different sound because I got some bigger intervals between the notes, as you typically get with arpeggio playing. Okay, and then I can move up to the next triad combination. Okay, and what you can basically do is you could work your way up. Well, let's go up the next triad combination first, perhaps. There's a root position, 4-3-2. Triads here. 4-3-2 because of the strings the notes fall on. Okay, so I'm just sort of playing through the shapes here. So this is back down to the first inversion shape, D minor, E minor, D minor, E minor, D minor, E minor. So just different inversions of the same 2 triads that give us 6 of the 7 notes of the mode. So you could go up one and down the other. combine it with the other approaches. Okay, so the point is there's different ways to access any mode on the guitar or any sound on the guitar, and the way you access it will determine the way you sort of visualize it. So while you're still just dealing with the same 7 notes here of Mixolydian the whole time, you're seeing them through a different lens each time, which then influences you and leads you down a different pathway as to what you might do, and you get some nice variety in your soloing. If you like this video, then you'll love this ebook audio from my Jazz Concepts for Acoustic Guitar series titled Arpeggios. In this ebook, you will learn exactly what arpeggios are, how to visualize them on the fretboard, and several ways to use them in your guitar playing. I will run you through 3 key major arpeggio shapes and 3 key minor arpeggio shapes, and how each of these relate to each other on the fretboard so you can easily access them in your playing. Not only will you learn the conventional way of applying arpeggios to your guitar playing, but I will also show you how to instantly multiply your soloing possibilities with each arpeggio shape through arpeggio superimposition. It sounds complicated, but it's super simple. I will not only show you how all this stuff works on the fretboard, but also explain it to you so you can understand the theory behind it all. So click the link in the description below this video and download your free ebook audio, Jazz Concepts for Acoustic Guitar Arpeggios. You'll have it in your inbox within minutes. Let me know in the comments section what guitar topics you'd like to see me cover in future videos. I read every comment and I will reply, so let me know. If you've got any questions on what we've covered in today's video, you can certainly ask there and I will answer to the best of my ability. If you like this video, then hit that like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and don't forget to hit that all important notification bell button, of course, so YouTube can tell you when I release a new video, which I do regularly. This is Simon Kennedy from AcousticGuitarLessonsOnline.net. Thank you again for watching this video. I really appreciate your time as always, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.